Welcome to the deep dive. So you sent us this really interesting resource, 597 business ideas you can start from home, doing what you love by Sassy Zen Girl. Quite the title.
It really is. And honestly, the book lives up to it. It's packed.
Just brimming with
Yeah.
possibilities. Yeah, it covers such a huge range of potential home businesses.
It's quite the list. I mean, when you shared it, what jumped out was just the sheer variety. You've got, administrative stuff, arts and crafts,
Right.
even things like car skills, computer help, consulting, coaching. It's a lot.
It really is a whole landscape of opportunity. But like you said, looking at nearly 600 ideas, well, it could feel a bit much, couldn't it? A bit overwhelming.
Definitely. Inspiring, sure, but also, where do you even start?
Exactly. So our mission today, as we kind of explore this together, is to pull out the really actionable stuff, the
Yeah.
insights, maybe some surprising angles, without getting lost in the sheer number of ideas.
Right.
We want to give you, the listener, a clear way to look at this, figure out what might actually work for you, especially if you want to learn quickly without feeling swamped.
And it probably helps to know a little about the author, right?
Yeah.
Sassy Zen Girl, Gundi Gabrielle, her story's actually pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
She's a permanent traveler, an online entrepreneur, but she started out in music, a conductor, pianist, organist.
Wow, quite a switch.
Yeah. So she kind of reinvented herself to build this location-independent life. And that experience, I think, adds real credibility to her advice. She seems genuinely focused on helping others find that same freedom using their own talents.
That context is really useful. Yeah, it adds weight. And look, while it's tempting to just, flip through all 597 ideas and dream,
Mhm.
maybe picturing yourself as a freelance photographer or starting that pet portrait thing.
Right, the fun part.
Exactly. But we're going to focus more on the groundwork she lays out right at the beginning. Those first steps, the mindset you need before you even dive into a specific idea.
That makes sense. Trying to cover all 597. Well, that wouldn't be a deep dive. It'd be an endless swim.
Exactly. So let's unpack those core principles she starts with.
Good plan. So, okay, you find an idea that kind of clicks with you. What's next? She really hammers home starting with the basics. And the very first thing, research.
Just basic research.
Yeah, she even suggests something super simple, like just Googling how to become whatever it is you're interested in.
It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it?
Maybe, but it's about getting that first layer of understanding, what's really involved, looking past just the cool idea.
Right, the practical side. And then after that initial search, she talks about a business plan.
Uh-huh. And that term business plan can sound kind of heavy, right? Formal.
Definitely.
But she frames it much more simply, like just get your first thoughts down. What are you actually trying to achieve?
Like, what income are you aiming for? How much time can you really put in?
Exactly. And what skills do you need? Maybe need to learn. What's a rough timeline? Getting it on paper.
And I liked her point about breaking down the money goal. That makes it feel less abstract.
Totally. That virtual assistant example she used was great. Aiming for, say, an extra $1,000 a month. Okay, sounds nice.
But maybe a bit vague.
Right. But then she breaks it down. If you charge maybe $25 an hour, well, that's about 40 hours of paid work a month.
Which is, what, 10 hours a week?
Yeah, or just 2 hours a day.
Well,
Suddenly, that $1,000 goal feels way more concrete, doesn't it?
it completely changes it. It goes from this big wish to, okay, I need to find 2 hours of work a day. Much more manageable.
And she's clear that this first plan isn't set in stone. You look at it maybe weekly, tweak it as you learn more. It's about setting a direction, not just, hoping things work out.
Right, being active about it. Okay, so from that foundation, she then boils things down to 3 core pillars for a successful business.
Yeah, the 3 key steps. First, that deep research, finding a profitable sub-niche, really getting your audience.
Okay.
Second, a detailed action plan, more detailed than the initial thoughts. And third, the big one, taking action consistently. Sounds simple, maybe, but each one is vital.
Let's dig into that research pillar a bit more. The sub-niche idea. She talks about not being a generalist, but becoming like the expert in a really specific area. The example she used was a cat store, right? But not just any cat store.
Exactly. Not just general cat stuff. Maybe it's specifically cat necklaces, or even cat necklaces for like one particular breed, something super specific.
Okay, so why is that niching down so important, do you think?
Well, I think it's about standing out. The market for almost anything is crowded, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
So if you specialize, you become the go-to person for that very specific thing. People often pay more for real expertise.
Oh, okay.
And you can tailor everything, your products, your marketing, much more effectively if you're focused on a small, specific group with a particular need. You become a big fish in a small pond, basically.
Instead of a tiny fish in the ocean.
Mm.
Makes sense. And part of that research is also really understanding your ideal customer.
Yes. Creating a detailed profile, almost like a character bio.
Demographics, age, gender, background.
Yeah.
Really painting a picture.
Exactly. Because if you know exactly who you're trying to reach, their problems, what they want, where they hang out online, you can talk directly to them.
Right. It stops being this generic broadcast and becomes more like a real conversation.
Precisely. Which leads nicely into the next bit, the unique value proposition, or UVP.
Okay, the UVP. What makes you different?
Yeah, what makes your product or service stand out? Why should someone choose you over all the other options?
And she stresses looking at it from the buyer side, right? Not just what you do, but what's in it for them.
Absolutely critical. It's all about the benefits. How does what you offer solve their problem? How does it make their life better, easier, whatever?
So it's not just, I proofread documents quickly.
Right. It's more like, get your urgent documents proofread within 24 hours so you never miss a deadline again.
Yeah.
See? The benefit is crystal clear.
That's a much stronger sell.
Yeah.
You get that? Okay, so after laying that groundwork, she moves into strategies to, as she puts it, separate yourself from the crowd.
Mm-hmm. 5 key ways, she suggests.
The first one is writing a best-selling Kindle book.
Yeah, and given she's a 9-time #1 bestseller herself,
She knows a thing or two about it.
you'd think so. She talks about how it builds authority, credibility, plus potential passive income.
And the interesting thing there is how Amazon itself kind of helps, right? If your book does well, they show it to more people.
Exactly. It's a built-in visibility engine in a way. You establish expertise, and you connect directly with people already interested in your topic. It's like organic lead generation.
And she even offers free training on getting that first bestseller, which shows she thinks it's achievable.
Right. Her second strategy is building a successful YouTube channel.
Video. Big one these days.
Huge. She points out YouTube is the #2 search engine right behind Google. So people are actively searching there for answers, for information.
You can get found.
You can get found, you can show your expertise, build that connection, and again, potentially create passive income through ads.
And YouTube videos often show up in Google search results too, don't they?
They do. So it amplifies your reach. Plus, video feels more personal, builds trust faster sometimes than just text.
Okay, what are the other 3 strategies?
Creating online courses is the third one. Another way to share knowledge, build authority, generate income.
Makes sense. Leverage your expertise.
Fourth is becoming an influential blogger. She really stresses that pretty much any business needs a website and blog anyway. Good for SEO, getting found online.
Right, search engine optimization. Essential.
And fifth, becoming a podcaster, something we know a little about.
Just a little.
She highlights the different ways podcasts can be monetized, connecting with an audience through audio.
And what's interesting is how she positions these.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't just marketing tools for some other main business, right?
Exactly. That's a key point. Any one of these, writing video courses, blogging, podcasting, could be the main business itself, depending on your skills and what you enjoy.
That's a really flexible way to look at it. Okay, so you're creating content, building an audience, but she also talks about community, doesn't she? Building a tribe.
Yeah, actively joining groups of other entrepreneurs. She mentions examples like mompreneurs for moms in business or digital nomads for the location-independent crowd.
Why is that community aspect so vital?
Well, starting a business can be tough, right? And lonely sometimes.
Definitely.
Connecting with others on the same path gives you support, advice. Maybe you find partners, collaborators. It's just invaluable to know you're not alone and to learn from people who get it.
Yeah, that shared experience. Okay, and then she really doubles down on marketing as essential.
Non-negotiable, basically. You can have the best idea, the best product, but if nobody knows about it,
Doesn't matter. Right. So she circles back to the strategies we just talked about.
pretty much having that website and blog, doing the SEO work, using YouTube or Kindle publishing, social media marketing, especially visual ones like Pinterest if your product fits.
And she makes a point about different platforms needing different approaches, doesn't she?
Yeah, that's important. The basics of marketing are universal, maybe, but selling effectively on Amazon is different from Etsy, which is different from Shopify, or getting traction on Instagram versus LinkedIn.
So you need to learn the specifics for wherever you choose to focus.
Exactly. It takes effort to learn those platform nuances, even if it's not, rocket science.
Got it. And then sort of wrapping up this initial advice section, she talks about the power of knowledge.
Right. Just reinforcing that her book gives you the ideas, the starting points, the basic resources. But deeper success usually means more specific training later on.
So it's a launch pad, not the entire journey map.
Perfectly put. It opens the door, gives you direction, but the learning doesn't stop there. Building a real business is ongoing.
Okay, so let's try and summarize for our listener who's maybe got this book or is just thinking about starting something from home. What are those absolute first key steps we've pulled out?
Well, I think number one is that research. Really look into any idea that grabs you. Don't skip that.
Okay.
Then draft that basic business plan. Get those initial goals, time commitments down on paper. Make it real.
To get concrete.
Then spend real time defining that ideal customer and nailing your unique value proposition, how you help them specifically.
Know who you're talking to and what makes you special to them.
Exactly. And finally, seriously, consider those strategies for getting seen and building authority. Kindle, YouTube, blogging, courses, podcasting, which one fits you?
That's a great summary. It really brings down to manageable first actions, which kind of leads to a final thought for everyone listening, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
With this huge resource, nearly 600 ideas, the real work, maybe the most exciting part, is figuring out your specific mix, your skills, your passions. Where do they meet a real need?
Finding that sweet spot.
Yeah. So we'd encourage you to look at the source, maybe revisit it, but with this strategic lens. Look for that intersection of what you love and what the market actually wants or needs.
And maybe that's something we could explore more in the future.
Could be. Perhaps dive deeper into one specific category, like the arts and crafts ideas, or really unpack one of those audience-building strategies like YouTube, if that's where the interest lies. We'll see what questions come up.
Sounds good.
But for now, remember, this is your starting point. Keep exploring, keep learning, and take that first step towards building your own kind of freedom and independence.